Could a single silent bruise be the lone warning of a secret so terrible it can destroy lives overnight? Welcome to a world where the line between a warm family circle and a haunting act of betrayal is far thinner than you might ever suspect. In this moment, we stand on the threshold of a true crime mystery, one that compels us to look beyond everyday smiles and question what really happens behind drawn curtains. Step into this story with us as we encounter hidden clues, piece together distressing evidence, and bring to light the disturbing truths that might otherwise have been buried. Will you turn away when it gets unsettling, or will you join us in pursuing the answers that can save lives?
Welcome to Crime Bite.
In this channel, we peel back the layers of those hidden realities, raw evidence, conflicting testimonies, and emotional pleas for help that too often come too late. By looking into these crime bites, you'll see firsthand how broken trust, systemic oversights, and chilling motives can converge into stories that rattle us to the core. If you find this exploration as vital as we do, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notifications button. Together, we can shine a light on the cases that demand attention, ensuring every voice, especially the silenced, finds the audience it deserves. In a mostly peaceful part of Vallejo, March 22nd, 2009 became a day no one could forget. A frantic 911 call arrived at 5:41 p.m., mentioning a child who supposedly choked on pizza. Paramedics dashed to an apartment complex, hearts pumping at the thought of a typical emergency. A toddler perhaps lodged with a piece of food. But as soon as they stepped onto the scene, they realized the truth was darker than any routine call. They found 3-year-old Natalynn Miller, limp in the arms of Ryan Jones, who stood emotionless, as if holding a doll rather than a small child. Across the way, the child's mother, Nicole Lee, barely moved, her arms crossing her chest defensively. Detective Jared Hughes arrived moments later, stepping out of his car into an atmosphere heavy with dread. Paramedics placed Natalynn on a patch of grass, trying to revive her, but her bruised form showed no response. The hush among responders said it all. No last-minute miracle occurred. Natalynn slipped away, leaving behind unsettling questions. Why so many bruises? Why did the adults look detached? Detective Hughes felt a chill creep down his spine. In the pit of his stomach, he sensed this was no accident. How does a simple phone call to 911 unravel hidden realities that can turn a whole community upside down? Natalynn was born to parents who initially provided a warm home. Those who met her saw a charming child with an early love of pizza and a habit of clapping whenever a catchy song played. She had an older half-brother, Curtis, who marveled at how she giggled over the simplest antics. In every snapshot, her grin hinted at a spirit unhindered by life's darker moments. But behind that cheerful face, small bruises sometimes lurked. Bruises that a toddler couldn't fully explain. Her father, Troy Miller, noticed changes over time. A flicker of fear in her eyes or a brief tremble when voices were raised. She remained too young to articulate what might have caused her distress, and those around her were slow to connect the dots. After all, she still beamed at people, waved at relatives, and rushed forward for hugs. Life had so much potential for her. She was the child who would burst into peals of laughter at a silly face, the one who squealed with delight over a puppy's wagging tail. If only someone had recognized that her bruises signaled more than routine tumbles. When a child still smiles through hidden pain, how can we tell that a silent cry for help is echoing beneath the surface? Troy Miller and Nicole Lee began their relationship with optimism, creating a home they believed would hold strong. Over time, quarrels wore them down until they parted ways. Troy moved out, vowing to stay present in Natalynn's life. He took pride in that parental commitment, dedicating afternoons and weekends to her. He'd ruffle her hair while making her favorite snacks, often reading silly picture books until she giggled herself breathless. While Troy tried to stabilize his life, Nicole started over, soon introducing Ryan Jones into her daily routine. Ryan was initially an unknown, someone Troy barely met but instantly felt uneasy around. Nicole, meanwhile, brushed aside concerns, describing her new partner as an asset who helped with bills and basic chores. Still, Troy noticed that whenever the subject of Ryan arose, Nicole's eyes shifted uneasily. Natalynn started showing up at Troy's place with occasional bruises or cuts. Each new mark stoked his protective instincts. Nicole insisted nothing was amiss, calling it typical toddler stumbling. Troy wavered, uncertain of whether to demand an investigation or trust the mother's explanation. Should a parent rely on official channels right away, or tread carefully to avoid losing access to the child they seek to protect? Inside Nicole's apartment, tension grew more visible with each passing month. Ryan Jones exerted an imposing presence, overshadowing Nicole's role and overshadowing Natalyn's sense of comfort. Neighbors down the hall overheard raised voices, accompanied by the sound of a child wailing. Once or twice, a neighbor glanced out their peephole to see Ryan storming around, while Nicole stood silent, arms crossed. Anyone passing by might have dismissed it as typical adult squabbles. After all, families argue. But these walls hid a much harsher reality, a small girl cowering from Ryan's outbursts. The bruises on her arms were no longer easily explained by playground slip-ups. Yet people remained hesitant to intervene. They told themselves they lacked firm evidence, or perhaps they assumed that if real trouble existed, someone else would handle it. Meanwhile, Troy tried to get answers. Every so often, he confronted Nicole. Why does Natalynn have these marks? Why does she flinch at men's voices now? Nicole insisted that Ryan was no threat and insisted that Troy was meddling. The father, constrained by custody rules, found it harder to break the cycle. He feared that if he pushed too forcefully, Nicole might block his visits altogether. In a society that values privacy, how do we decide when it becomes our duty to step into someone else's closed door? In the days leading up to her death, warning signals arrived with disturbing frequency. At a local burger place, a few customers noticed Ryan raising his voice at Natalynn after she accidentally toppled her drink. He gripped her arm a bit too forcefully, the child wincing. Nicole sat silently, looking nervous. Onlookers felt uneasy, but did nothing more than exchange worried glances. Meanwhile, Troy became more vocal about his worries to relatives. He described a time Natalynn seemed terrified to leave his side, whispering that Ryan, got mad too often. Friends advised him to contact social services, but Troy hesitated, fearing a lengthy legal battle that could backfire and limit his access. He juggled an internal tug-of-war, act swiftly and risk pushing Nicole into a corner, or proceed methodically to gather evidence. Despite these echoes of warning, the system never fully mobilized in time. It was as if everyone tiptoed around the truth, perhaps hoping that if they stayed quiet, life would stabilize on its own. Unseen to them, the clock was ticking closer to the final act. When silent watchers feel only half certain of trouble, is partial certainty enough to save a child's life? On March 22, 2009, a lifeless hush settled over the apartment complex. At 5:41 p.m., a call came in claiming Natalynn choked on a slice of pizza and stopped breathing. Dispatchers tried to maintain calm, yet the caller's tone was oddly level, devoid of the panic one would expect from a frantic mother or caretaker. Ambulance sirens soon cut through the fading daylight. Detective Hughes arrived to find Ryan standing in the street with Natalynn in his arms. Her body felt cold, and her skin showed dark bruises in various shapes and shades. Nicole hovered at a distance, arms crossed, expression unreadable. This was not the scene of a choking accident. Veteran paramedics recognized something sinister immediately. Attempts to resuscitate her ended in quiet acknowledgement. Natalynn was gone. The cluster of first responders shared a look of shock mixed with sorrow. Meanwhile, Nicole offered no outburst of grief, and Ryan avoided eye contact. Hughes felt certain that the simple story of she choked would unravel under deeper scrutiny. How does a scene meant to portray a minor accident reveal, in seconds, something far darker to trained eyes? Autopsy results showed severe trauma to Natalynn's head and torso, injuries that could not align with accidental choking. Old bruises layered with newer ones, painting a chronicle of harm that spanned weeks or months. Investigators collected statements from neighbors, many admitting they'd heard disturbing noises or seen harsh discipline. Several recalled seeing Nicole's willingness to cover for Ryan. When questioned, Ryan gave a halting account. He claimed he found Natalynn choking, tried to help, but it was too late. Nicole parroted the same version, though her detached tone unsettled the detectives. They pressed for clarity. If this was genuine choking, why the numerous bruises at different stages? She offered no solid explanation, only vague shrugs. Adding to the gravity, surveillance footage surfaced. A restaurant camera captured Ryan scolding Natalynn, grabbing her forcefully while Nicole looked on. Then came the recordings of Nicole's phone calls to Ryan from jail, telling him, "I love you," with no mention of heartbreak for Natalynn. All of it stacked up to confirm what paramedics and law enforcement had suspected from the start, a pattern of abuse culminating in tragedy. When the facts clearly point to cruelty, can those involved hide behind shallow stories for long, or do confessions inevitably emerge? By December 2013, the case went to trial, an event that drew local media coverage and pained curiosity from the community. Inside, members of the audience braced for disturbing evidence. Coroner's reports, forensic analysis, and the final days of Natalynn's life laid bare in methodical detail. Some observers dabbed their eyes as they listened to the medical examiner describe blunt force injuries no toddler should ever endure. Ryan Jones sat at the defense table, arms folded, hardly reacting as horrifying details streamed forth. Nicole, tried for felony child endangerment, matched his blank posture. The highlight for many was hearing the recorded jail calls in which Nicole professed loyalty to Ryan, ignoring the fact that he stood accused of her daughter's death. Jurors exchanged uneasy glances at the casual tone of their conversations. Troy Miller attended every session, fists clenched and eyes downcast whenever graphic descriptions surfaced. He relived images of his giggling daughter, trying to balance heartbreak with the hope that convictions could at least confirm the wrong done to her. Everyone else in that courtroom felt the weight of a child's life stolen through acts no one had stopped in time. Does exposing every harrowing detail of a victim's suffering in court bring solace, or does it amplify the sorrow beyond measure? It took little deliberation before the jury pronounced Ryan Jones guilty of second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death, earning a sentence of 25 years to life. Nicole Lee, found guilty of felony child endangerment for failing to shield her daughter, received an 8-year term. While observers might have hoped for emotional outbursts upon hearing these sentences, both defendants remained quiet, as though they had moved beyond any sense of guilt or regret. From the front row, Troy felt a faint chill. He recognized this was as close to justice as the system could offer, but justice could never resurrect Natalynn. The father's mind spun with thoughts of every missed opportunity. The quiet knocks on Nicole's apartment door he had once resisted, the phone calls to authorities he had postponed. The court had verified wrongdoing, yet the victory rang hollow in the face of an unfillable void. In the wider community, shock combined with guilt. Many residents realized they had seen glimpses of trouble. The overheard shouting, a child's frightened sobs, a mother's unexplained bruises. But almost none had intervened decisively. That collective regret fueled changes in attitudes toward child welfare reports, with more people questioning if they should step forward sooner next time. Can a judge's ruling truly close the door on sorrow, or does the pain linger in every memory of a young life lost? In the aftermath, many looked to Natalynn's brief life as a warning. If such severe mistreatment could happen in a relatively quiet town, it could happen anywhere. Her name became a rallying point among local advocates who began pushing for stronger protective oversight, faster interventions, and more robust training for social services. People who had once shrugged off the possibility of abuse in their midst now asked themselves if they could do more for other vulnerable children. Troy Miller, seeking purpose amid sorrow, started raising awareness. He reminded anyone who would listen that the cost of staying silent is far too high. No sentencing could bring back his daughter, nor wipe away the images of her bruised arms. However, he believed in ensuring that no other child's giggle goes forever silent due to bystander inaction. The heartbreak became a driving force behind child abuse hotlines receiving more calls, with neighbors and relatives less inclined to brush off suspicious signs. In that way, Natalynn's story lived on, urging vigilance and compassion for children who depend on grown-ups for protection. Her memory calls out to every person who might suspect a child is in peril. Do not wait for proof beyond doubt before acting. Sometimes, a cautious warning might save a life. And if one child can be rescued from the brink thanks to Natalynn's story, then her brief life, though cut short, leaves a meaningful echo. Will her legacy move you to speak up when you see signs of danger, ensuring no more children vanish behind the hush of locked doors. As we step away from the harrowing truth of this case, the memory of a bright-eyed child remains in our thoughts. Her story reminds us that a watchful eye and a single phone call can mean the difference between safety and tragedy. Every question asked, every report filed, every moment taken to pay attention, these can all be the lifelines a vulnerable child needs. If you've been moved by Natalynn's story, consider what you can do to protect the ones who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes it's making that one call. Other times it's urging those around you to remain vigilant. A voice unafraid to speak can shine the only light in a dark situation. Before you go, we have one favor to ask. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notifications button so you never miss another crucial story. By staying engaged, you help these urgent messages travel farther, potentially saving lives. Together, we can prevent a tragedy like Natalynn's from unfolding in yet another quiet corner of the world.